Hi, how you doing? Are you ready for another magical time? Another fun time and wonderful memory of the wonderful world of the spiral time. And another example you're seeing right now with these white supremacists is they think that white people have superior genes. Blonde haired, blue eyed people are superior genes, which is it's another really good example, you know. Why? Because you say so? Notice there's no evidence. Their talking points, it always involves these things that people want to hear, and so then everybody believes them, either because their Bible says so or because they really, really, really want to believe that, you know, or emotionally they need to believe that, or family tradition, they need to believe that, but it's never based on evidence or real reasons, you know. If anything, the white genes are inferior genes because of all the inbreeding, you know. But like, what is a superior gene? Think about it. It's like superior genes compared to what? Like, what does that even mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's just a way, you know. So it's the same thing with trans people, you know, in the bathrooms. There's no evidence that there. I mean, it's not a thing. There isn't evidence that there's anybody's ever been in danger because of trans people in the bathrooms. It doesn't happen. It's not a thing, you know. There's no evidence on that side of the argument. Yeah, I can remember people would say, filter your water, and they'd say, geez, nowadays, I mean, they say don't do this, don't do that, and then they change their mind, say don't do this. The experts don't really know, supposedly, you know. But if you just simply live a life based on evidence, if you're on the side of arguments that has evidence for that side of the argument, has all kinds of advantages. They've found that there's like BFAs or something in drinking water, and people that haven't been filtering their water, kidney cancer and liver cancer and stuff. And there's all these lawsuits out and stuff like that, you know. So I gotta think back to those people that shook their heads and thought I was ridiculous for filtering my water, you know. Do they have kidney cancer right now? You know, but it's the same with other arguments. Like right now in our country, the fights between the right and the left, that there isn't any evidence on the right wingers' talking points in there. There just isn't any real reasons to believe any of that stuff, you know. So it's nice to be on the side of evidence, you know, and be on the side of, you know, the history will tell good things about us, you know. I mean, it's incredible how bad they want to believe these things, you know, like to protecting pedophiles and all that, you know. It's just, think about that. That's how bad they want to believe, you know. They refuse to use evidence and facts and science. They say scientists, it's a conspiracy, you know, and they think about that. That they want to believe what they call the truth with supposedly with a capital T is whoa, they want to believe that pretty damn bad. So the problem with that is, you know, the problem with what they're saying, like the superior genes and white supremacy and that, which is what it is it's racism. It's a ism. It's the belief in race. Like Bob Marley has a great lyric where he says, you got the dog race, you got the horse race, you got the human race, but this is a rat race, you know. So, you know, the human race, the race is humanity. So they're ethnic groups. They're not races. And you know, if you believe in races, then you're racist. You're a racist, and that's racism. It's a ism. And the problem with racism is it doesn't work. Skin color isn't relevant enough to enough things that you can make it a determining factor in anything, really, you know. Another huge favorite one is Bob Marley's song War is actually a quote from Haile Selassie, Emperor of Ethiopia, speech to the League of Nations. He says, until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. You know, everywhere is war. You know, but he says in that the classic line, He says, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes, which for me is that's that's the ism I believe in, you know, because if you're worried about a person's skin and you're trying to figure out why it doesn't matter that their skin's a certain color, that's still racism. If you're looking at their skin because it's beautiful, then you're looking at it like eye colors, because eyes, all the colors of eyes are beautiful, and all the colors of skin are beautiful. So you're just noticing their beautiful skin, like just like you would their beautiful eyes, when's the last time you talked about someone's eye color? You might mention it at the most and never talk about it again, but or whatever. But I think you know what I mean. There's a beautiful quote: until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes. So the problem with saying superior genes and blonde hair, blue eyes, and make the blue genes and that whole connection and all that stuff that everybody's talking about, in my world, it's just like, wow, dude, look, there's still racist people. I think that's most people's perspective. Like, it's hard to believe someone could be that stupid in 2025, but I guess it happens apparently. So therefore, the problem, like, as far as like with what they call white pride and that, like I'm Anglo Franco-American, a couple dashes of a couple other things type thing. So I'm Anglo-Saxon, and I dye my hair black. I'm from a red-headed blonde family. I've got green eyes, and I have sisters with blue eyes, and I'm genetically related to the same people as those people. We're on the Mayflower. That's absolutely me too. But I feel like the things, when they say things like that, they're making a fool of us. To me, it's embarrassing, because it's like using the N-word. We were the bad guys in that story. What with that? Why would you always want to be bringing that up? That's so stupid. That means you didn't learn from it, and you still don't even know you're the bad guy. So now, if you listen, well, I know I don't have a lot of subscribers and stuff, but what you would want to do is you'd want to watch my videos. I go over all of that plenty, because I'm a Rasta, and I've been a Rasta like most of my life, and for like 27 years, probably, something like that. 26, 27 years. I'm not really sure when the starting point was, but I did a lot of studying of Ethiopian history. I read whole thick books. I wasn't sure what to read. I wanted to know what Bob Marley was talking about, and because I was a big Bob Marley fan. I used to listen to Bob Marley when I lived in Spain and before Spain, and ever since. I guess it started when I was selling shoes in the mall in California, and it was one of my first jobs. I did really good, actually. But what ends up happening is, because meanwhile, you go out into the world, you're studying a bunch of Ethiopian history. You go out into the world, and you've got your dreadlocks, and you're a known Rastafarian and everything. And what you hear people tell you, hey, they say things like, you're not even black or from Jamaica, you can't be a Rastafarian, which is why I started the Ya and Sway, my own kind of witchcraft and my own kind of Rasta, I'm tired of labels, and I'm tired of being something, and everybody's, oh, that's not what you are, you have to do it this way, or you have to do it that way if that's what you are, and things like that, So I'm just the religion of no labels. Ya and Sway is the religion of no labels. It means listen to your heart, It's your own damn fault. You create things from within, So because I'm not, it's true. I'm not from Jamaica, and I've spent my whole life studying Ethiopian history, which I want to talk about more in the future on my channel, because it's so cool. Ethiopia is so awesome. But what you end up doing is at one point you say, hey, why don't I mix in with all the study in African history? Why don't I mix in some of the history of the shamans of my own people, And you start studying witchcraft, and you start studying the Druids and the Celts and the Ladies of Avalon and Arthurian lore and the bards, basically, in a nutshell. And you start, those were the bards were the shamans of the Anglo-Saxon people, in ancient time, the Druids, So, I studied a lot of that too, and I mixed some of that in too all the time, and fantasy, especially at this point in this my life. I add in a lot of fantasy, and I hope to publish a novel, and I haven't published anything, so it's going to take some time to figure out how to do and stuff, but because fiction is what I really like, as I just had some questions that I needed answering and stuff like that. I needed to be sure what I believe, not because someone told me what to believe, So it just took me, most of my life to figure out what those things are and things like that, So, and that's what I believe, Yan Sui. I believe that it's just like, no, because like as soon as you decide you're something, I'm a Buddhist, that's what I am, I'm this, then you have to, then all of a sudden there's this list of things you have to do, and you have to do those things, So anyway, that's all, those people should consider my channel. They wouldn't be able to because they're probably snobs, and I'm not a famous channel, but yeah, I go over who are the white people, and who did the Rastafarians say the white people were, who did Marcus Garvey say they were, and just, a lot, as my style, lots of African information and stuff like that so just for this you'd want to watch my Bible discussions playlist, and my one with Bob Marr about the Rastafarians. They're right next to each other on the front page, so probably the Bible discussions one, I bet you is I don't know, it depends. If you're from Africa, just watch the Rastafarians one first, but you probably both should watch both of them. I don't know. I don't know who I'm talking to. I make my videos mostly for myself, really, but also I wish if I could make a contribution, I could choose what it was. I would say just that the word Yan Sui becomes a real word in the English language, and it means it's my word. I want to give it to humanity as an option. And as something kind of in between atheism and not atheism, because I couldn't say Christianity there, because you fill in the blank. It's whatever you say it is, because that's the whole point. You look within. So heavily based on the Kabbalah with a Q, but the Kabbalah with the K too, in some cases, because I like listening to rabbis and stuff, to them it's with a K, I guess. I don't know, the whole thing seems weird to me. I don't really see why everything matters so much to people. It's like, it is what it is, It's so much hunger for power in this world, Everybody wants to rule the... Say that you never. Are you guys ready for another magical episode of Under the Witch's Moon? Hey, Ange, wanna hang out? Does Howdy Doody have wooden... Never mind. Well, okay, let's, later that day. And that's why the narcissist epidemic theory can explain the problems of what we're troubled with these days. Capitalism and the battle of the genders just might be the ever-present competitiveness we see in all things. Narcissists turn everything into a competition. Unrealistic beauty standards and stuff. biblical morality, all the apologetics that go with it. Saying trans women aren't women because they want to believe gender is not a spectrum so badly. All of it, a competition, a straw man competition, ego, apathy. Meanwhile, by seeing through the lens of the unifier, which is a different perspective, a different controlled reality, a different controlled illusion that we would call reality, there are much more relevant matters from that perspective. But in apathy, they don't matter, do they? They're not relevant, are they? So everything is ugly and out of balance, you know? Yeah, that's true. It isn't enough to just have sports for them, you know, those kind of people. Yeah, that is true. That's why we're Eagles fans, isn't it? Football instead of war. Yeah, exactly. We say we hate the Dallas Cowboys, but it's not the same. We don't really hate them. The competition unifies. We get together, we identify as Eagles fans, have inspiring athletes to look up to. All those unifying benefits, yet no one gets hurt. So the problem, so as far as my Bible discussions playlist, the problem with racism, when you mix racism and the Bible, the problem with that is like Dan McClellan, the Bible scholar who's on YouTube, dogma over data. Data over dogma. Did I just say that backwards? Sorry, temporary insanity. Now watch, there's gonna be a bunch of comments because everybody's so mean all the time. You are insane. It's like, oh, hello. I reference everything I say all the time. Okay, so anyway, so it's not univocal. The Bible is it's a whole library of different books from different times, from different people in different languages, different legends for different reasons and different things, you know. And it's all grouped together and rolled together. I have a playlist called "Who Wrote the Bible." You watch you know how to watch playlists. You don't need to watch the whole thing. It's like, I can't watch all. I notice in some cases my videos are just like 1.5 minutes long and stuff like that. So if there's a whole bunch of videos, just watch them one after another. That's what a playlist does, you know. It's not about how long each individual video is. Those are just little time things that you can look at in a way, you know. Approach it more like that, and you chunk through some of these subjects. Some people would say, "Hey, you're you know, I'm not monetized. The videos, only some of them are by me, because, you know, that if it's just me talking, then it's just me talking. But you know, it's about how to research things, you know, and how to listen to the experts and find the right people to listen to, you know. So it's about listening to other people, not me. I want you to listen to your heart and to know how to use critical thinking and to how to be a free thinker. So there's, of course, no God in the sky. The God, that is the God, you know, your sacred heart, which I stole from Dio. That's a title track of a favorite album. You know, because Dio's more than my favorite musician. He said some really cool things. His lyrics are well, I think, his best part, actually. His lyrics are absolutely fantastic and unique. I'm also a big Ozzy fan. I never played the contest. Everybody thinks they have to decide all the time. Who do you like better, David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar? It's like, what the hell? I like Eddie Van Halen. It was like, I like both, yo. Hello. So when you start learning the facts and the things that we know, because the question should be, you know, before I bet all my chips on this book, what what do I know? What can the Bible scholars teach me? What do we know about the archaeology? And like, what are the things that we know? And we know a whole bunch of things actually that you might want to consider before. So I don't. In the Yah's way, we don't. The looking within and the meditating and your tarot deck. Uh, Yah is short for Yahweh, so it's fire, water, air, and earth. So in your heart is fire, water, air, and earth is the medicine wheel, and that's the sacred heart. We call it the sacred heart, but Native Americans call it the medicine wheel, and Europeans call it the wheel of fortune. And the Yan Sui call it the sacred heart, and then and Sui is just in Sioux, and Sioux is an English word that means to follow. But I'm pronouncing it funny, so it's not Yah and Sioux, it's Yah and Sway, so that it be all one word and everything, and that's it. So it means follow your heart, follow Yah, follow fire, water, air, and earth, which is the medicine wheel in within, the link with the universe and the creative force within. Not the creation's like, so basically the Bible's fiction and everything. So you're willing to just murder, rape, and pillage because you're so sure the Bible's the word of this. There's not a man in the sky. Yahweh is never was a man in the sky. That was just during moments where politically that was an advantageous thing. The story, the Bible and the story, even before it was written down or even before it was compiled and things, the story was something that was between the king and the priest. It was owned by the king and ran and operated by the priest. In some cases, the regular people weren't allowed. Most people didn't know how to read until kind of recently. So if you wonder, well, is there a way to like kind of pull out the parts that are still useful? And that's the Kabbalah. And so I have a playlist on the Kabbalah. But the Kabbalah is really just the tarot deck. It doesn't have to be, but it might be and often is, probably most of the time. Because the tarot deck is just a picture, a sketch or a picture or whatever it is because there's many different kinds of tarot decks, of all the different places on the Sephiroth, which is the tree of life. The point is to decide what all the things mean, all 10 spheres mean to you, and personalize it, and then you get a working Kabbalah. And once you have a working Kabbalah, then you speak the language of your metaphysics in a personal way, and so now you can communicate and you have at least a little bit, because they're kind of like, it's kind of turns out to be kind of like a list of things to learn at least a little bit about. So you have some kind of working ability, like astral travel. I know what it is. I know how to do it. I know a bunch of stuff with like all the hot shot stuff. But for me, astral travel is, I do astral travel, but so does everybody. Astral travel is just what you do when you dream at night. It's that the astral realm is made out of the same thing that dreams are made out of. And that's number 9 in the Sephiroth. And its planet is the moon. Each one has a planet and different correspondences, and you make your own working Kabbalah. So you'd want to watch my Kabbalah playlist. Obviously, I couldn't talk about this many subjects in one video. And you're like, no, that's the Kabbalah, that's the Jews. And it's like, dude, a racist wouldn't be able to do it. But if you could for some reason, I'll tell you what white people ought to believe. If you guys would just learn how to read and know how to research and stuff, and quit being such dorks and idiots about it all the gosh damn time. It's so embarrassing. Dude. Okay, so then you'd want to have a playlist on the tarot, How to Tarot, I think it's called. And the Bible playlist, in theory, you'd be okay. I'm done with the Bible. It was a stepping stone, not just for me personally, but for my past lives and stuff, and my progression that way too. And it's been this thing, and it's still a part of me. It's got me where I am, but now I'm ready to take the next step, and then forward. Of course, it's not forward; it's a spiral. It's what I call the spiral times. But most people just call it the all now. It's who you are stripped of ego. but stripped in the sense that you're naked. You're not non-existing. So if you listen to it, you'll learn a lot. If you listen to me about things to love about yourself because you're white, which it's like, dude, quit saying that. We were the bad guys, you guys. Let's not even use the word white. Really? What are you doing? But to put it bluntly, the Bible's a bunch of bullshit. It's a sacred book, but more so in the sense of your past lives. It's time, like, now's not the time. Learn there. What? Look, you're gonna have to start probably with my playlist on meditation, so you'll know how to transcend your ego. So you'll know what ego is, and the anatomy of ego, so that you can, and then you can not waste so much energy on such dumb ideas. So the link within, which is who you really are, the Sacred Heart, is love and unity. So everything that separates is literally what ego is. And the problem with ego is that it's very small and weak compared to something that's united as a whole. And united, like when you see someone walking down the street, like let's say you don't like black people. When you look at a black person next time, if you would know how to transcend your ego, you'd realize that black person you're looking at is a little thing called you. It's you. He or she is you. They're you. Why? You're talking about yourself, yo. We're all one person. We're like a rainbow of colors. We're like a spectrum of, or like a, I don't know what the right word, a prism. That was the word I was looking for. Like picture the cover of Dark Side of the Moon. So you put away all the racist ideas, which are embarrassing and stupid, and they don't work. Like, what the hell? Come on. Quit goofing around. And put the Bible down and start learning how to get to know yourself and know the world around you, because it's all part of you. So the tree's part of you too. That's the ego. You think that you're not that tree? What about the mountain? You think you're not the mountain? That's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah. So like can happen often in Rasta. Many Rastas like me have studied the teachings of Herbert W. Armstrong and believe that Herbert W. Armstrong is the Elijah that prepares you for the way for Rastafari, Haile Selassie, the Emperor, and which is what makes you a Rasta. Is if you have Rasta is just simply the belief in the divinity of Haile Selassie, the Ethiopian Emperor, from 1930 to 1974. And then what you are beyond that, there's a pretty big variety, but some things that generally people have in common is an emphasis on being natural, having dreadlocks, smoking cannabis, and as your medicine and your lifestyle, and the religion's out of date. The religion out of date part, if someone's all, well, I don't, well, I mean, if you're a Rasta and you believe in the divinity of Haile Selassie, it's because that's what Haile Selassie taught, So that's what, so, I mean, that's logical, it's just people don't think it through enough to realize that that's obvious. It should be anyway. So it's like, let Haile Selassie in Ethiopia have the Bible. It was good having it, and we learned a lot. But right now, we're yaw and sway, and we believe in the spiral times. So if you're not white, then if you don't already know that, I mean, certainly the race, what you guys call it, ethnic groups, like I've lived the life of a loner. I wish I belonged to a group, and everything. Even when I was a little kid, I had my own club. I thought Pac-Man was the cool game, so I had a Pac-Man shirt, and I'd wear it, and I was in the Pac-Man club, and I'd play Pac-Man every day. And on and on and on. I have a history I have my own band, even till this day I've got my own music, and I make believe it's a band, but it's really just all me doing all this stuff and writing the songs and everything. but from your perspective, you might go, now hang on a second, maybe Angie happened for a reason, because actually I would have never taken the time to notice some of that stuff, and it pointed me in a really good direction, and I go over why the LSD trips and all this stuff. But yeah, everybody's invited, but probably it's probably not for you. If you haven't figured out that the yan sui, because of what it means, it would be for everybody, and it does, and there wouldn't the rules. It's just you would have to take it from there, But I might be able to teach you some cool tools and some cool links, magical links and such, and just links and stuff. And plus, the Rastas, you'd want to look at my playlist with my recipes in it. I mean, that's what you should want to. You don't go to a Rasta because you want to learn about the Bible. You go to a Rasta because you want to learn some vegetarian recipes and some. You want to smoke some herb and get stoned and have the munchies and eat some healthy food. Okay, so just one last thing. So a lot of people would be like, "Oh, but the for me that wouldn't work because of the trauma from the Yah part, the Yahweh. I don't want my deity to be connected to that." And I use the image of Mary a lot, but Mary has recently I've added to it that Mary, when she disappeared from history because she died, and I know about where she was buried and stuff, and I think about that. I'll do a video on it when it's her birthday. But so I just there, see, I'm a big fan of Mary. I like using Mary as my, and the artwork from the Catholic Church on Mary as my symbol for the goddess, and there's a god and a goddess, but I like Catholic artwork and Catholic candles and stuff like that, but I'm no Catholic. My dad's side of the family's Catholic, so, and my other side of the family that's Mormon I'm sure was Catholic before we were Mormon. Well, maybe not the side of me from India and Southeast Asia, that area. I don't know. That maybe I was Hindu in that branch of my genetics, but it's because when things like when something's burned, it goes into smoke, So there's not scientific evidence of the metaphysical, but there is a lot of evidence from the physical. The first evidence of the metaphysical is just that our elders have been teaching us of the metaphysical for so long. So there's a reason, like, wow, they're really smart. They do know a bunch of cool stuff and stuff. Maybe so that counts as one. You're like, oh, well, is there something extra biblical, something outside of the Bible and all your legends and stuff, But no, you do. You listen to what the elders say, and you say, okay, is there something that needs to be updated, or any free thinking or critical thinking I need to apply and stuff, And one source is pretty much never a good idea. Learn a couple more sources, look it up. So like Haile Selassie says when he starts his autobiography, that a house built on sand is not a good foundation. He doesn't say it that way, but we've heard that principle before. That's how he starts out the story of his life, and there's people that are wrong and liars and all kinds of problems. You got to build things on a solid foundation, as you build your church. But yeah, I would never call it a church or a religion. That's a Rastafari. One of the things I like about Rasta is there's so much emphasis on no way, don't you dare roll us up with other religions. This is a lifestyle, an I-livity. But anyway, so basically, I believe in progressive reincarnation. Not because I know that I had past lives, but because I think that must be what it is. Because it's suggested from the elders, and it does match, just because in science we know that when you burn something, it doesn't die. Things don't die in science. Things change. Now it's not a log. Now it's smoke in the air because you burned the wood in your fireplace. Things change. They don't die. Your body, when you die, it goes back into the dirt. From dirt you came, to dust you'll return. And then just the seasons and the cycles, and the death is one of the tarot cards, It's one of the places in the medicine wheel in the circle of life, and the tarot deck. So, therefore, it's a part of you. But when you eat something, it's dead, right? I mean, not if it's vegetarian, but if it's meat, you ate something that was dead. But really, it wasn't dead because it changed into your life, and your body rebuilt it into your muscle. Your body builds with protein tissue, so it turns it into your muscle. So there's lots of evidence that there's more, and there's no evidence against it that there's reincarnation. So if there's reincarnation, the Yah part is because of that, really, because of past lives. That the Yah is where you came from. There's that tendency. I don't know how strict the rule is from the elders that you have a tendency to reincarnate from your own genetic background. So like in my past life, I was most likely Catholic, and then I'd probably been a Catholic in 100 different lives or something like that in the past. So see, so this is evolving from Christianity into witchcraft. Oh shoot! I thought I was done. I didn't finish what I was saying about Herbert Armstrong, so out of responsibility, I got to. So I'll try to leave a link. Herbert Armstrong always wanted his books to be available for free, and you'd want to. It's like Herbert W. Armstrong Library and Archives, or no, Herbert W. Armstrong Searchable Library. That's what it was, and find his book, The U.S. and Britain Commonwealth in Bible Prophecy. And that's where a lot of my beliefs, because I've read Herbert W. Armstrong is the general pastor, I think his title was, for the Church of God, and he said that the world would end basically, in 1975. So that's why people say no, everybody left him and his church fell apart when Jesus didn't come in 1975. But then he met Haile Selassie and became friends with him, and wrote an article called "The Man Who Could Have Changed the World" in his Plain Truth magazine, and basically Herbert Armstrong would have died knowing that he would, because he knew he was the Elijah, but that prepares the way for Haile Selassie. So you're like, oh well, I thought you don't believe in the idea that there's scripture and that there's a man in the sky and there's a book that's the. To me, the Bible is just a book of fairy tales, or a book of fables. A magic book of fables from a people that produce the tarot deck, which is the coolest thing ever. So I'm like, oh well, yeah, I want to study these people that bring me the tarot deck. So you'll have to look at. They'll say, no, the tarot deck comes from Europe and a little bit from Asia, dude. I know what the experts say. I wouldn't be talking about it if I didn't know what people think. I go over all that. It's a thing. I go over it. You'll have to just watch the tarot deck playlist. But what I need to say here is that I disagree with probably at this point most of what Herbert Armstrong said. Herbert Armstrong did believe the Bible is the Word of God, and he did his best to live it. But so what he teaches about white people and believes, he would say that we're the tribe of Manasseh. So would I. I say I believe I'm the tribe of Manasseh because I studied the teachings of Herbert Armstrong, and that's where I left off when I realized that the Bible is just a book of fables, and I kind of moved on from it and started focusing more on my witchcraft, because I've always been a witch, that read the Bible more in the past and now is less interested in it, but it's all still. In Rasta, we say that it's now the Bible, it's in your heart. You've written it on the tables of your heart, and now you don't need to carry it around with you everywhere you go anymore, And you can focus on your fire, water, air, and earth, and your, building your working Kabbalah and knowing the tarot deck. So, The point is that the Elijah. So like to put it in perspective, if you're a Christian, John the Baptist was the Elijah that prepared the way for Jesus. But you learn about John the Baptist, and you're like, oh wow, John the Baptist is the best there's ever been, John the Baptist. And as soon as Jesus is the main guy in the story, you barely even hear of John the Baptist anymore. It's not about John the Baptist anymore. Now it's about Jesus. So that's how Rasta is. It's Herbert Armstrong is a tool to help you let go of the Bible, because you've got all these questions and answers and you're not sure, wait, what happened there? And so Herbert Armstrong he teaches you what it says. If the Bible is just a book that you buy at the library, Herbert Armstrong is the guy that'll teach you how to understand such a complicated book, and without having to spend the rest of your life reading it, but only to realize that even Herbert Armstrong's wrong. And just that's why you let go of the Bible, because it's like, do I want to spend the rest of my life apologizing for a book that is impossibly wrong? And there's nothing anyone can do. You can't fix that. There's nothing you can do about it. So there's really just a couple of videos on that subject, because that's the idea here is to instead of studying the Bible, to study the life of Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie, it was the original enemy of fascism, against Mussolini, who came and took over Ethiopia and everything. And it's the story of Haile Selassie. And you can't lie about Haile Selassie. We've got videos and all kinds of stuff. He was in my lifetime, So hello. It's really different, and Haile Selassie is relevant and everything, and so I just it's about, to me, that's why I say I'm a Rasta. I'm like, oh, you guys in your damn Bible. Meanwhile, I'll be over here with Rastafari. So but if you do actually watch my playlist on the Bible discussions, then you would want to watch the Bob Marley part, because now you're going to say, well, and you've read Herbert Armstrong's books, the relevant ones, the big ones that I say that you got to read. You don't got to do anything, but if you've got to deconstruct some of your background, I come from a Mormon family, so obviously I had some deconstruction to do, And so Herbert Armstrong was a necessary tool in my case, and I walked away from it with no less love for Herbert Armstrong. Herbert Armstrong, I love him. Sometimes I still, even though I disagree with everything he says practically, I still just adore him and listen to him. He's just a sweet old man. I come from a long line of people like him. He looks like he could be related to me or something, and stuff. He looks like he could be Mormon, basically. If you told me he was Mormon, I might have thought he was. But maybe for you, you just don't need Herbert Armstrong at all. Maybe I'm your Elijah. Just taught you the word Yah and Sway and said you don't need any of that stuff anymore. Learn how to meditate. Watch my playlist on meditation. That's more useful than the whole idea of scripture, and that there's a man in the sky that you have to make believe exists, that loves you and knows every hair on your head and all this silly stuff, and created the universe exactly like it says in a magic book that we can tell is a bunch of stories added together. It's like, and the talking snake and all that. It's like, hello, whoa, guys, dude, come on, quit goofing around. So one more thing, the part of this video that was a lie was, I almost forgot what I was going to say. Part of it was a lie was that I put the Bible down, and that it's no longer a part of my life. What a lie. I still almost like a person smoking a cigarette in the closet that said they quit. I still listen to Bible scholars all the time, every day, really, and I'm still every day learning more and more. I've been learning about the Bible since 1988, every day, whether I was atheist or not. I've just been studying and learning other religions. And if you guys want me to talk more about that, the different religions, like I was really into Baha'i. You're all, you mean the Baha'i? It's like, dude, I learned about the Baha'i in Spain. Like with the Spanish accent, we don't call it Baha'i. That's English. I learned it in Spain. But I could go over some of that stuff. Oh man, I just saw a skunk right in there, but I'm not gonna go try to get a closer look because it's a skunk. So, another big problem with the Bible, with using the Bible for today, and thinking that it's talking about today, like the people that wrote it, I mean, there's also the factor, like with me, there's the factor of just how things turned out, like with Rastafari, with my connection with Rastafari, so I moved my locks forward because I said Rastafari. But, is, Haile Selassie, Rastafari, is, the Lion of Judah from Revelations 5:5, but it's not that that's what I believe that the writers meant or whatever. I don't want to get involved, just altogether with the Bible subject. It's not univocal, it's not anything. It's just so complicated, and it's just such a collection and library of so many different things, and I'm not an expert. I don't know what I'm talking about, and all this and everything, blah, blah, blah. It's just, and it expects you to take its word for it all the time, and all the believers expect you to take their word for it all the time. And yes, there's laundry on there. Damn, dude. So in the Yan Sui, we don't believe in the idea of the word. There's such a thing as a scripture, a word of a man in the sky. We don't believe the man in the sky exists, and we don't believe the concept of the word of God exists either. No matter what you say it is, it's still made by the hands of man. Even deities, they are all deities, and all of it was created by the hands of man. And that's a common sense in witchcraft. You guys catch up. So Ya and Sui, it has the Ya part is a reference to the past, but that just is just makes it connected, But it shows an evolution, that it's a whole new word that didn't even exist ever until recently, So as far as kind of like the what would Jesus do, what would Haile Selassie do, So Selassie had a program. If you would have asked Selassie, he was asked, what's the name of your program? Modernization is the word that was used, translated into English, modernization. Because Haile Selassie has brought into Ethiopia the first everything, the first hospitals, the first roads, the first trains, the first cars, the first, just everything that we consider modern. It was all just brought into Ethiopia within the reign of one of their 3,000-year dynasty of kings. Only one emperor brought in all those things, and that was Haile Selassie, because he spoke French, and he was criticized by his critics as being a white people lover, and he was, but it's because he wasn't racist. It's because he's the one that said, that the color of your skin is no importance than the color of your eyes, But what ended up happening, so wouldn't that make the whole concept, so Haile Selassie isn't God then, right? And I would say, no, Haile Selassie is the incarnation of, not the reincarnation. He's not the reincarnation of Jesus. He's the incarnation of the God of the Bible, which is something different. But so is Jesus. Jesus was that too. It's just all the embellishments and all the blah, blah, blahs have made it out like that. I believe there's been many demigods, so you only have to account for half of it. And why do I know that half of them was divine? Because Rastafari is not about the same things. It's about your lifestyle, and religion's out of date, and you study and you learn and you improve and you modernize, and you adapt like a scientist would. So the human realities of Haile Selassie are just That's just, you're just seeing firsthand how embellished things have been in the past. That's what a demigod's actually like in real life. Serious? You know, yeah, Haile Selassie was super short, but you know, I pray to Haile Selassie, and I'm 6'3". You know, I would consider Haile Selassie my king. I would bow down to Selassie or whatever I'm expected to do. You know, but I know what got me where I am. The Rastafarians of Jamaica deserve credit for. I mean, it's like, Angie, you're so smart. It's like, yeah, because I was lucky enough to learn from a Rasta, and was able to buy books that are some that are out of print, some that are like African looking printing press looking things, and not just like, it's cool. You know, I've been very lucky to be able to read some really cool books if what you're trying to learn is Rastafari. But it's not about me, it's about, you know, Rastafari, and when you make all the adaptations that you end up making, what you're brought and learn how to meditate and everything, when you're broken down all that ego and all that stuff like that, then you're left with a whole bunch of new definitions, and everything needs to be reorganized, and you create your lifestyle, and that's what it's all about, you know, being a good person. Sorry guys, I should have known better. That was pretty stupid. Yeah, I jumped. Dang it. There was a murder of crows right there, plus I'm on video and I wanted to take a picture. So yeah, I just watched another one of those arguments between atheists and theists recently, and I just thought of an example of, so like, according to my definition of deity, which is not a man in the sky but is the tetragrammaton, fire, water, air, and earth, YHWH. It's the heart, the sacred heart within, and so it's the power of your imagination, and therefore God's really like a word tool that you use, you know. So there was a car that drove by. So God is like a word tool. So in boxing and in martial arts and things, you hear him say that you're supposed to imagine that you're punching an inch past the place that you're actually trying to punch. See? Imagine. So in reality, you're not punching an inch past the place where you punch. I mean, maybe you are. Maybe their chest sponges in or something like that, but it's because of the power of a really good basketball player. Part of why they're good is because they have so much experience making their shots, and it's easy for them to imagine it and feel it because they felt it and imagined it. And, you know, so like the vision of the whole thing is part of why they are such good shots and things like that. You know, vision and thoughts is part of how you do things athletically and so many things in life. And those moments are evidences of God. So basically, after you give up the idea of needing to prove it with scripture, and you don't even need the scriptures anymore, it's about your lifestyle, then Rastafari, I mean, temporarily we thought that Rastafari was some things that now we've modernized that too, you know? But it still came out of that, and so see, the word Yan Sui does the same things, and so it's really a Yan Sui, because one of the scriptures refers to Rastafari as the branch, you know, referring that there's many branches. And in Rastafari, like with Christianity, there's different branches of Rastafari, different kinds of Rastas, you know. So I believe that I'm a Yan Sui Rasta, and that's a different branch of Rasta. So, you know, it's not fair to keep criticizing me and stuff like that. What am I supposed to do? Believe what you believe or something? You know, think about it. We all connect within. It's the one love.